Welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us today, Kathy Devine.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited to have you. I've been only recently introduced to you through a friend who has been looking at your books and who has been involved with your work, particularly when it comes to the vegan movement that you are doing. Just to quickly introduce you from what I can share about you, and then you can expand on that if you want. You've written 6 books. And you are in 3 magazines, and you are, as far as I can see, someone who is on a mission to do good in the world, basically drawing from within, from your own spiritual practice and meditation to give back to the world. And you're bringing that in different areas. You've been bringing that into working on the vegan movement. You're also bringing that through looking at leadership, especially ethical leadership and female leadership. And you're doing this by empowering other people, and in particular women, to go into publishing as well, like you did. And impressively enough, without being a journalist, without being someone who comes from that background. And yet here you are, having published so much. Super impressive. Tell us a little bit more about you and how you've been able to accomplish that.
Okay, and firstly, thank you so much for having me today. And it's really great to talk to your audience about what I've been up to, and hopefully, add value to your channel and give something back to everybody that's watching. So my journey, I've been publishing books and a magazine, and I did a conference for women called the Plant Powered Women Leadership Conference a couple of years ago. And it's all around the ethical leadership topic, world peace, and peace for all beings, including animals. So that's where the vegan message comes in. And basically comes from my meditation and from the kind of inspiration that comes from sitting and contemplating on what is your mission, what is the goal of life, and how can I be of service to people, animals, and the planet. So it came out through writing, and just started one after the other like that.
Fascinating, thank you. And the interesting thing is where I think our worlds collide to a degree is that as a coach, I keep telling people that we need to start living from the inside out, that we need to start looking first, what are our values, what is our mission, what are our beliefs, what's truly important, what's our soul essence, and how can we bring good into the world, and then start looking at how can we implement that with our family, with our friends, within our work, and hopefully towards the greater good. And you seem to be doing exactly the same in a different framework.
Yeah, it really starts, we have to start with ourselves and think about what, value intuition more, and inspiration, and the connection, our inner connection to our real self, because all outward things are so highly prized, like your achievements, your house, your car, all these kinds of outward, material things. But I think valuing your own intuition and valuing what you feel in your heart, in your soul, is what you're meant to be doing. I think that is just so underrated in our society. And instead of what we should do, like what do you want to do, and what really makes you excited and passionate about life, that is, something that we can pay more attention to and be more engaged is in our intuition. And I think women innately have a connection to their intuition, but in this kind of masculine dominated society, that gets suppressed, and people say, well, where's the research, where's the evidence, where's the peer-reviewed studies to say what you're saying? Well, basically intuition has been with us since the day mankind, womankind, peoplekind, humankind began. And it's about what you innately know to be true. And that is something that I encourage everybody to be more engaged in, sitting alone, whether that's meditating, praying, or just having time to yourself. It doesn't have to be a spiritual or religious pursuit, but just actually taking time out and saying, who am I, and what do I want to become, and what do I want to, what kind of mark do I want to leave in this world? And I think that goes with valuing your own intuition.
100%. And I think this is what ties in really nicely as well with this whole idea of feminine or female leadership. And I want to just say, this is not about kind of trying to get females in over men. It's more that
Right.
feminine, intuitive, right
Yes.
brain,
Right.
caring, kindness, and like good for all sort of approach that's not as
Yes.
linear. Because I can say about myself, I do
Mm.
sometimes get into what we call masculine energy. That's not I'm becoming a man, but it's like goal
Right.
driven, focused,
Yeah.
of having the blinders on to be able to just move
Yeah.
forward. And there is a place and time for that. It is needed
Exactly.
to accomplish certain
Yes.
things.
Yes.
But tell us a bit more about specifically feminine leadership and what you have learned while you have been writing your latest book. Maybe talk about that as well.
Yeah. So in Golden Age Politics, which is my latest book, that's what I'm talking about, is, you know, valuing and utilizing the feminine energy, which is within all of us, no matter how you identify as a gender. You know, we've got this just talking about the softness, about the peaceful, compassionate approach to leadership. And as you say, like, we have our masculine side, we have our feminine side, we have our side where we feel like we're neither, and we just are, you know, where some people refer to that as non-binary. And I think we've all got aspects of everything in us we can do, and it's just a matter of letting the feminine rise up more, and just valuing that as a leadership trait, instead of saying that leadership's all about being competitive and domineering and pushy and everything. I think there's a lot of place for introverts, for sensitive people, for feminine identifying people, or people with a lot of feminine energy, to step up and also have a place at the table and to have a place in leadership. And I think that's something that hasn't really been emphasized or encouraged. It's like, yes, women can be in leadership, but they have to kind of be tough like men. Well, I don't think so. I think we can be who we are, and it's just about being our real selves, and whatever that looks like to you. And, you know, I put a part in the book about inclusiveness, and it's not about women as such, or men, or non-binary. It's about who are you, and what do you want to contribute, and being happy and not having to fix yourself to fit into the leadership model that is dominant, you know, at the moment.
Exactly. And the nice thing is if that feminine element comes in, it just brings the balance back. It's not about going into the other extreme. It's about,
exactly.
it's about balancing it, and both
Mhm.
working together, because both masculine, feminine energy have something unique and useful to contribute.
Exactly.
What I liked about your book is that you are quoting different politicians as well. You're touching on Jacinda Ardern, you're touching on Marianne Williamson, who was like a running candidate for the presidential election, at least like early on in the race, and a couple of other people. What do you see? Because there's also females, like we remember Margaret Thatcher, I'm German, so Angela Merkel. There is female politicians, for example, who are very much doing the masculine energy thing and who are pushing forward. And then there's this new breed, like, for example, Jacinda Ardern, who is giving things a uniquely female or feminine touch. What do you think are the attributes that we can tap into, or the skills that we can tap into as women, to be able to do things from a female perspective and in a female way?
Yeah, I'm sure there's many ways to approach that, and other people will have different ideas. And I think that's what's great about life, is we can all appreciate the diversity of ideas and approaches. What I would say, coming from a spiritual perspective, is to sit with yourself and say what's in your heart to do, and how do you feel. And that might take some time to get kind of reclaim as well, because we have all been kind of conditioned in certain ways. So if you can take time out whenever you have in your schedule to be with yourself and say, what's really in my heart, and what skills and what passions do I have that I can contribute to the world. And I think coming to that question from a place of service instead of ego is, you know, something we were talking about in previous conversations. It's just, we need to firstly have the right concept of, I want to do this because I want to serve the world, and I've got this passion in me to help in some sense, and then going into, well, what is it exactly, trying to sort of narrow it down. And then the second thing I would do is connect with like-minded people. So once you figure out kind of who you are and where you're fitting, then you're like, I want to find other people like that, because they will give you the support in the network, and they will really help you also to figure out the finer details of things and connect you with people that will take you to the next step. So I think having networking is very important, and networking in a way that's fun, and it doesn't have to be the typical masculine style networking. It can be just a really beautiful connection with people that you have things in common with. And I think, yeah, after you've done that kind of thing, you need to train yourself in whatever it is that you're interested in doing, whether that is, you know, education or qualities that you want to develop more, like courage or confidence or having a positive mindset or overcoming obstacles, whatever it is that is stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve or being the person that you want to become. Then you can look at, you know, working on some of those things in a gentle and encouraging way to yourself. You know, it doesn't have to be on a timeline or on a to-do list, but I think being more gentle with ourselves is always a good thing, especially this year with so much stress and pressure on all different levels. And I just want to mention a friend of mine, Amanda Ruzzi, who's an author for teenagers, and she talks about gentle living. If anyone wants to look her up on Instagram, it's just a really beautiful way, and it's also, you know, a more feminine approach to things, to say have your days off, have your time out, reflect, and just do things in a much more relaxed way.
Totally.
I think we could all do with that.
I was literally just having that kind of conversation over lunch half an hour ago. It's like how to navigate days when you're not quite so fit, you don't feel yourself at the best of your game, and like how to manage to maybe move some work into another day, to have more time on a day where you need it. Even just with us women doing our cycles, right? Like there's times of the months where things
going with the flow, literally.
Right. What I want to touch on is what you said there about networking is something that I found really valuable. When I came over to Australia 10 years ago, I didn't have networks here. I didn't have friends at the beginning. And when I moved to the place where where I'm at right now, 8 years ago, it was a distinct thing that I was longing to have empowered women around me, partially equals and people I'm on par with, so we can get stuff done together and explore things together. And at the same time, for me, always like also a motherly energy, like women who are maybe 15, 20, 30 years ahead of me age-wise, that I can look to and almost have like a replacement mother here in Australia. And I found that, and I found that through the years, that has been a fantastic corrective, both to exchange ideas with my peers, but also when I'm facing difficulties, especially when it came to leadership, interestingly enough, being able to go to them and just ask their opinion and an outside view, who knew the context I was working in, knew me as a person, and were able to then give me not always just like supportive and, you know, pat on the back, but often also critical. Look, this is what you're doing. This is what might be causing this sort of support. I think this is what partly the feminine is good as well. It's like weaving those connections and moving together ahead as a group, rather than, you know, striding forwards just as a leader and as one person trying to elbow everybody else out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you are looking at women who are wanting to go into leadership, like what would be your biggest recommendations? I know that you have pulled off a lot of pretty amazing, like impressive stuff from next to nothing. Like I said before, you've written a whole bunch of books without having a massive amount of resources or training. What could you recommend? Like, imagine our listener right now is maybe a young woman, maybe a middle-aged woman who has ideas, who has dreams, who knows that there's more to her that she could bring to the world. What would be insights, tips, ideas you could impart on them that will help them move ahead?
Yeah, well, I think the number one thing you can work on, doesn't matter what project you're going to do, is your confidence. And I think once you back yourself and you believe that you can do it, regardless of the circumstances right now, whatever you're dealing with, whatever, like we've all got stuff going on in our lives that's less than perfect, but if somewhere in you believe you can do it, whatever that thing is, that is a great starting point to lead to the next thing. So whether it's faith or it's confidence or it's just, the universe has my back, something like that, that is a really good starting point, because you'll be amazed once that gets the fire, if that gets into you, what happens next. So you'll meet somebody, or because you're motivated, because you're feeling confident, you'll go and Google, how do I write a book, or how do I start a YouTube channel, or how do I meet my mentor, or we're talking about you having like older women as your mentor. So and all the ideas and the inspiration come from the initial, I'm going to do it. And there's going to be days where you think, I think if you start from that point of knowing, like a deep knowing that you can, to go from there, and don't give up.
Yeah, and that's what you mentioned to me recently. I'm sorry for interrupting. That's what you mentioned to me recently when I asked you, like, how have you managed to write 6 books? How do you even stick with one, to be honest? I know that it's tricky enough sometimes to write content for just a 10, 15, 20-minute video, let alone a whole book of several chapters. Like, what is it that allows you to keep moving through the ups and downs and the days where you're inspired and the days where you're not? What would that be specifically for you?
Oh, for me, it's meditation. I mean, I've been meditating for 23 years, and every day when I meditate, I just feel the encouragement and I feel the support, inner support to do everything, and the inspiration and the ideas of how to solve problems and how to get to the next step in a project. I feel everything comes from my meditation and from my meditation teacher, Supreme Master Ching Hai. She's done, multiple businesses. She started a vegan chain of restaurants called Loving Hut. She's a jewelry designer. She runs a television network called Supreme Master Television. She's doing many, many things, and it also is coming, from her meditation practice. And I am feeling that result as well. Not that we meditate for this kind of result, but it's like a lovely side effect of meditation is you feel more powerful to help the world, and it backs you up. And I know a lot of activists get burnt out and things like that. And I would say to people that are activists, or they're advocating for a cause of whatever it is, to have some kind of backup plan and some kind of self-care plan, whether that is meditation or it's hiking or it's enjoying nature. It's some kind of grounding and balance that helps you to keep going, because it's very easy to start things, but to finish a project or have the endurance through the ups and downs is where people get stuck. And talking about procrastination and fears that come up along the journey. So like I coach people with writing books, and they'll have procrastination, they'll get scared at some point, they'll doubt themselves. And it's at those points that you need the spiritual support, or you need psychological support, some emotional support, whatever that is that you're needing. That's when having a regular practice just keeps everything flowing. But if you wait until you get stuck and you say, oh, I need something, you might not even know exactly what you need at that point. So I think having a regular practice of some sort, whether it's mindfulness or meditation, etc., is going to help you through the bumps. And it's like you have a bump and you go down. It's not these, boom bust cycles where you're really up, you're really down. It's more like, okay, this happened, I'll get over this. And every day it's the going forward that makes you finish projects, and is why you can write multiple books or do multiple things, is because you've got some kind of consistency in your self-care, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the ability, what you're touching on there with the mindfulness or with the meditation, the ability to observe yourself from a third person perspective,
right,
and see that what's going on in your mind right now when you're not feeling great is not necessarily reality, but it is how you're feeling and how you're making sense of things right now. And that this can be absolutely remedied when you're coming back to a better place. And that applies basically everywhere.
Yeah, and you get,
we can step back
the
enough.
power. Yes. And reflecting, and that's coming back to before I was saying having time alone, and meditation is really about, having time alone. There's different methods of meditation, but really you're with yourself, you're with your real self, and you're in your heart and your soul, and you're you're reflecting, you know, and gain and getting that power back to keep going in life.
Yeah. And I think also being really comfortable with yourself. I think this is something a lot
Yes.
of us are lacking as well. I definitely count myself in there a couple of
Yeah.
years back, that I was always really busy out there, busy doing, busy keeping
Mm.
myself busy.
Yeah.
Partially, at least, because when I had to sit with myself and I was forced to just face myself, that was an
Mm.
uncomfortable place to be. And
Right.
meditation practice and spiritual practice is definitely something that has helped me ahead as well in
Mm.
becoming more comfortable with myself, which then allows us also to be more comfortable with others. And to hear that inner voice,
Yeah.
I think when we had a preliminary chat recently, you were also speaking about even finding that really silent, quiet inner voice that we might not even hear when we are not having a practice, right?
Mm. Exactly. It's like the intuition, it's the knowing, and it's the, yeah, being happy with yourself because you've gotten to know yourself by being quiet.
Mm.
And I think because we are so busy, we are just pulled by one demand and one to-do list and one, you know, request after another, and you do lose yourself in that process, and it's not really living authentically because it's not actually you, it's outside demand. So sitting by yourself, it's just so many benefits.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that as well with clients, both at the retreat center I used to run and as a coach, where people are doing, and especially with young women climbing the corporate ladder or climbing whatever
Hmm.
other ladder, and then 10 years, 15, 20 years down the track, realizing that the ladder was leaning against the wrong tree the whole time. So they have come to that top rung that they
Right.
were experiencing or expecting to get to, only to then realize that happiness isn't really there where they expected
Right.
to find it. And then
Mm.
to realize that and have to make new decisions. Lastly, from that
Mm.
topic of being able to follow through, I think what also is really important is knowing your why, like knowing what you are doing
Yes.
it for, and having a
Right.
really strong pull from something more important than just you, your ego, and your
Mm.
financial bottom line. What do you have to say about that?
Mm. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying before.
Mm.
Before you even start something, figure out what it is you really, really love, because that will be carrying you through the entire process. If you're just doing it because you think it's going to make more money, or it's going to make you more popular, or it's going to do something, you know, some kind of material gain, you know, these things are all important and necessary. Money's important, you know, necessary for living, but there's many ways to get to the same result. But the thing that will pull you through when obstacles arise is you've got that solid why, and you've got that more of a deeper reason for doing it than just, you know, kind of material reasons alone. So yeah, the why is part of the first process of following your heart and saying, so why do I feel like I really want to do this? And then you're like, well, because it's good for this, good for that, and it's just my passion, and I feel like that's my mission in life. And the more you connect to your soul and to your heart, you'll be guided. You're like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And people are going through life, as you say, on the ladder, saying, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But because it's successful and it's getting them, it's ticking the goals of the house, the car, the family, all these holidays and whatever, they're like, well, this is what society is saying is successful, but do I feel successful? And that's why people will get to some sort of midlife crisis, even not halfway, but before that, and say, but I don't feel happy, and I don't feel I'm on my mission. Like, I don't feel like I'm there. And that is the benefit of taking these quiet times regularly and not waiting for the 10-year or the 15, 20-year mark in your career to say, hang on, like, you know, I think doing regular retreats or regular whatever you want to do for time out is important, to check in regularly with yourself and say, am I still happy? Because
Fantastic.
at the end of the day, it's about being happy, you know,
It
and
is, and we forget
joyful, you
that.
know. It's not about anything else. There's people at all kinds of income levels. Some of them are miserable on high, some of them are very happy just to live a simple life. And people are like, how can you be happy? It's like, because happiness isn't about anything else but being happy. You know.
Exactly. And it is something that we can be at any point in time. Sometimes people say, like,
Right.
my big place I want to be is I want to be happy. And it's like, hang on, you can choose to be happy right now. If there's any obstacle in your way of being happy right now, then you can work on that and get that out of the way. But I can choose to be happy now. Like, there's nothing in my way of doing that. And again, there's no bank check and no job and no level of, outwardly success that determines when I am allowed or when I am ready to be happy. And that's something what we really forget to focus on. Now, Kathy, if people want to connect to you, you have a whole range of things you're doing. So you've got the vegan magazine, you have a series of books. Some of them are about veganism, some about politics for the golden age, etc. And you have the mentoring for aspiring authors. So tell us a little bit more. If people would like to connect more with you, where can they find you and what can they expect to see there?
Okay, my main website is just my name, kathydevine.com. You can see my latest book on there, and my books are all on Amazon, most of them, or other online bookstores, so you can check that out in ebook or print. So my website has some information about my coaching for aspiring authors. So if you've never written a book before and need some guidance along the way to different steps of how to publish, there's a page there that you can see the information about. And australianvegans.com.au is my magazine website for Australian Vegans Journal, and you can download we've got 3 journals there you can download for free as PDFs, and they're my main 2 websites for this discussion. I'm also a dog massage therapist, and I'm studying to be an animal naturopath, so my website for that is animals.net.au. And that's my passion. Talking about passions, animals are my passion, and being a naturopath for animals is definitely my lifelong dream coming true. So I'm very happy about that.
That is fantastic. And it showcases this beautiful thing about you as well. You're multi-passionate. You're not just kind of going in one direction. You found success actually in several directions already. And you have your heart's calling to do something that kind of is in line with what you've been doing so far, but is taking it to a slightly different direction. And you're going for it. And I can so resonate with that because I've done so many things: tour guiding, being a political scientist, running a yoga retreat center, being a life coach. And somehow, interestingly enough, often it can be that while you're doing it, nothing seems to quite fit together. But then later on, as things are coming together, you can see that you had to take every single one of those steps, even they were so disjointed, to arrive at the place you truly were meant to be.
Yes.
Awesome.
Beautiful, the tapestry of life.
Yes, exactly. All the best for you. Thank you so much. And folks, if you have enjoyed this interview, as always, it would be wonderful if you like, comment, and share. You can follow our channel if you're interested to see more interviews. And we will leave Kathy's contact details, the links to her website, and a few more pieces of information about her in the comment section below. And you are always welcome, of course, to comment on this video as well. So happy days. Have a great day. And hopefully see you again soon, Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Bye.